As the air turns crisp and the holidays come close, comfort becomes the best gift of all. Quince delivers layers that last, sweaters, outerwear, and everyday essentials that make holiday dressing completely effortless. Quince has items that feel like they are high-end, but are 50% less than the high-end retail stores. I have now bought not one, but two of their Mongolian cashmere crew neck sweaters. They are so incredibly soft. They are $50 and they come in so many colors. I absolutely love it. It's gift-giving season, so if you give somebody something from Quince, I guarantee they are going to think you spent more than you actually did on their gift. They work with ethical, top-tier factories, and they skip the middlemen. And that makes Quince prices so much less. So step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/wifeofcrime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/wifeofcrime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/wifeofcrime. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. All right, it's officially November, and that means daylight savings just happened, which means it is dark AF by like 5:30. So we need to combat this, okay? We cannot be doing the winter blues this year. No one has time for that. I told my therapist that I needed to set up a plan. I needed some goals, some things to look forward to. Her and I brainstormed it, and I feel like we came up with something that is really going to get me through this winter. That's why I love my therapist, because she is somebody that helps me work through all this stuff. And she knows me so well because I've been seeing her for 5 years. If you have wanted to give therapy a try, I definitely suggest it. It's one of the best things I ever did. Our listeners can get 10% off their first month with BetterHelp. So if you go to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1, you'll get 10% off your first month. You can try it. You can change therapists at any time. It's super easy and it's all online. BetterHelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, over the next 3 episodes, we are covering 3 badass women. I'm calling it the Baddie Series. When multiple members of the same family started dying one by one, the only woman left standing had to endure immense heartache to not only save herself, but bring down the men who were responsible. This is the case of the infamous Mollie Burkhart and the Osage murders. Everyone, welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. Pass the Turkey, but only the breast, a.k.a. Keep that whack cranberry sauce away from me, a.k.a. Family's coming, so eat an edible so you could tolerate them.
I love cranberry sauce. I make it from scratch every year. And I don't like the can one. Obviously, that one's weird. It's like a gelatin can weird thing. But I make the one on the stove. And then I think me and like one other person eat it at our Thanksgiving.
Well, you also come from a family that eats coleslaw, and I thought that was just decoration. I never seen anyone even touch coleslaw. And I always wondered, like, why don't restaurants just not buy this as decorations? People just throw it away anyway.
Yeah.
Come around Jess and her family, and they love it. White families that aren't from New York love anything with mayonnaise.
Yeah, that is true. You know, I feel like coleslaw is good on a pulled pork sandwich, though. It's good.
I guess because you can't taste it.
Maybe. Yeah, it's It's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably better off taking an edible if you have to deal with your family than like some whiskey, because the whiskey will make you risky and you might tell them how you really feel instead of just laugh at them.
So I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw this person posted a video. He's like this expert at AI detection. And he officially has said, like, he works for big companies detecting AI.
Yeah, but with his eye or with another computer?
I don't know what he does. I didn't look that far. I pulled a Russ.
Well,
okay, I just saw the headline and I didn't read too much into it. But what he did
But
say...
I'm one of those too. I could look at a video and most of the time right now,
No, you can't. Because what he said is we are officially at the point where AI is undistinguishable.
I'm smarter than this guy. I could still tell. Because there's still some things AI cannot mimic. AI cannot create bums or crackheads from the Bronx. So if there's a crackhead or a bum from the Bronx in your video, AI don't got that yet.
Okay, but he's talking about like anything you read, things like about politics. You have to be extra careful because it's like, it's indistinguishable now. And then I saw this other guy make a video and he said, now, hopefully, everybody's going to get to the point where no one trusts the internet anymore or social media anymore. And then they're going to stop using their phones. And then we're all going to be back in the 90s like we were growing up with no phones. And life was just better that way.
Yeah, it was better when there were less phones. People interacted more.
Yeah, people actually talked face to face. We hung out outside. But the 90s was a nice time.
I kind of like not being around people too. And like the relatives you don't want to see in person, you could just like wish them happy birthday, even though you had no clue it was their birthday unless it popped up on Facebook.
Yeah.
But now you pretend you care.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty interesting that AI is getting to that point. It's pretty scary.
Well, I'm already at the point now. I'll see like cool stuff with animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been got once.
Yeah. Was it the bunnies jumping on the trampoline? That one got a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was, but my main thing on the internet, I like funny animal videos. I like when they get saved, and then like I cry on the inside.
Yeah.
My favorite stuff is animals.
Yeah.
And crackheads fighting in the Bronx.
So this month on the Patreon, for December, we haven't decided yet what we're going to watch and review.
I know what we're going to do.
What?
Whatever is number one on Netflix.
Well, 50 Cent executively produced a documentary about Diddy that's coming out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that one might be interesting because he's the executive producer, but it is 4 parts. So I don't know if you're willing to watch a 4-part docuseries.
Uh-huh.
I guess we'll have to see.
Take that.
Yeah, but apparently it goes through his whole career as a mogul, all the artists that he put on.
Can't stop, won't stop.
And then everything, all his downfall. But it was produced by 50 Cent, so I'm curious to see how that goes. You know, if he's gonna throw some jabs in there.
Well, yeah, he might throw a couple jabs in there. It might be a little biased, and I hope so because it'll be funnier.
Yeah, because you love 50. So yeah, we haven't decided what we're doing for December, but for November, we watched and reviewed The Perfect Neighbor, and that was completely enraging, and we hated it. But also, it was a really good documentary, but it made us very angry. So if you're interested in that, or any of our other True Crime and Chill episodes, head over to Patreon at Wife of Crime Pod, and Russ has the patron shout-outs.
So these are the patrons that joined this week. Barbara. I added Russ on COD and he never added me back. You probably trash. Cynthia, Heather, Amanda, Ashanti, Maylee, Amber, Sophia. That's so cool how it's spelled. It looks like that.
Sophia.
Yeah. Abigail
Sophia.
L, Amanda, Alexandra, Tiffany, Brittany, Amy, Ashley, Cassandra, Angela, Caitlin, Mariana, and Morgan.
Yes.
Get at me, dogs. All right. So, about the COD thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see it because I get so many friend requests because I'm really good at the game.
Really?
Fuck. Damn, we're back. I spilled my drink all over myself.
He did.
And so annoying. And you know, normally you'll jump up
Aw.
So I'm just
Sitting here.
sitting wallowing in a puddle of something I wanted to drink.
Well, it's probably instant karma because you were bragging about the fact that you're so good at COD.
Oh, that's what I was doing. I'm not. I'm good. You know, I'm not like a pro, but I get friend requests and I just never even open them because I don't know you.
You're so popular.
But if I would have knew it was you, I would have added you.
Okay.
I'll carry you. That's how I hurt my back. Carrying my friends in video games all these years. Definitely weakened it.
Yeah, okay.
No, my friends suck. Like if
they're listening right now.
They suck.
Okay.
You think I don't tell them that? If you join up with me and you play with me and my friends, just know you're gonna have to carry because they suck.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was trying to say. All right. So this week's review of the week is from Truly Pam. She has very bad taste in movies and actors.
Okay.
And the name of the review is Zac Efron is a good actor, Russ. 5 stars. Okay, so I've been a listener for years. I love both of you. I was pregnant all last year and became a mom this year, so I hadn't kept up with the episodes for about a year and a half.
Wow. You had a lot to catch up on.
Kids are terrible. Look what they do to people. They can't even listen to us no more. But anyway, I've been binging them. And on the episode where Russ, you're grilling Jess and ask her what movie Zac Efron is in that's actually good, I swear I kept yelling, Jess, mention Iron Claw the movie. He plays an amazing role in that movie. He is a great actor, Russ. Anyway, you two are hilarious, and I stay recommending y'all to all. That rhymed. So thanks, Truly Pam.
Aww.
You really need to find some other stuff to watch and actors. But
I didn't honestly watch that movie.
Me neither, because it looks like he has a helmet on his head.
Well, he does, but he looks like the guy. The wrestler guy.
Ain't no way the guy's hair looked like that.
I think he did.
He wore
I think it really looked like that.
Looked like he wore one of them helmets.
So last week, we made a huge announcement that we were launching Clutch Defense. It's our previous episode. We did a special episode announcing the launch and talking all about the products. And in honor of us, making this dream that we've had for a long time actually come to life, I decided that for the next 3 episodes, we are going to do a Baddie Series.
I like it.
If you buy all 3 of our products on Clutch Defense, it's called the Baddie Bundle. So I'm giving you a Baddie bundle in episodes. And we are going to do a Baddie series. And each episode in the next 3 episodes is going to represent one of the products in our Clutch Defense line. How cool is that?
That is very cool.
I know. I'm really excited. So just a reminder, Clutch Defense, it launches on December 1st at 7 p.m. The online store is clutchdefenseco.com, and you can also follow us on Instagram at Clutch Defense to just watch for updates and see the pictures of the products. And I'm so excited.
Of course, we got to put Co at the end. Co is the greatest. I just came from the Co buying basketball cards, my new addiction. So, basically, if you love your wife, go to Clutch Defense so you could save her life.
Oh, look at that rhyme.
Just made that up, baby. I'm trying to get my Walt Clyde Frazier on.
That's a good one. So it's Thanksgiving. And every year around this time, something weird happens in America.
You have to see those relatives.
We start slipping back into that childhood version of history. The one made of construction paper and glue sticks. The pilgrims in their little buckled hats, and the Indians in feathered headdresses, and everyone sitting together at a long table in harmony. It's a sweet story.
Oh, this is going to turn bad fast. This is a crime podcast. I could feel it.
But it's also a fantasy. And listen, I'm not here to ruin anyone's Thanksgiving. I love spending time with family. I love eating until I can't move. I love the moment when everyone is together and the world feels soft for a second. As long as no one is arguing about politics.
I prefer to be around all the arguments, and I will instigate. That would be the only reason to really to go to Thanksgiving, because I could afford food every day.
That's true for you, but not me. I actually really like it. I like spending time with people. It's like almost like the world stops for a little bit. That part of Thanksgiving is beautiful, but we can hold two truths at once. We can love the warmth of this holiday because we have the tradition of spending time with family. And we can acknowledge that the history behind it has been cleaned, polished, and bleached until it barely resembles the truth. And here's where the discomfort kind of creeps in. Because once you peel away that smiling, kid-friendly version of the past, you're left with something raw, something violent, something that doesn't fit on a kindergarten bulletin board.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of thing that makes adults shift in their seat and say, well, we don't really want to talk about that. And yeah, maybe today I'm channeling a little Wednesday Addams energy. So
Love
this is a very elder millennial reference, but that moment in the Addams Family Values when she walks out on stage for the Thanksgiving play and absolutely like eviscerates the entire myth in front of an audience who is not prepared for it.
It's an epic scene, and
It
I don't ever say that about scenes unless it's like from Taken.
It's so good. I love that scene because she doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't flinch. She just tells the truth so bluntly, it becomes uncomfortable for all the suburban parents in the audience. And honestly, that's the kind of energy this particular episode needs. Because to tell the story that I'm telling today, the story of the Osage murders, you got to be willing to sit in that discomfort. You have to be willing to let go of the cotton candy version of American history and look directly at the parts that were covered up, ignored, or rewritten to make everyone feel better. But before you think this is just another tragic tale, I want to make something very clear. At the center of this story is a woman who was, in every sense of the word, a baddie. She wasn't loud, but she was steadfast. She was a quiet warrior. And since we are launching Clutch Defense on Monday, I wanted to tell a story of a badass woman, because that's the whole entire vibe of our brand.
Mm-hmm.
Mollie Burkhart was not loud, not showy, not the kind of strong female character we see in movies throwing punches and delivering corny one-liners. No, Mollie was something else entirely. She was a quiet warrior, a woman who carried herself with dignity and calm, even when the world around her was completely falling apart. A woman who fought for her family, her children, and her own survival without raising her voice. A woman whose strength was steady, controlled, and deeply rooted. The kind of strength people underestimate until it's too late.
You got to watch out for the quiet ones. My nanny always said that.
Yep, it's true. And to understand who Mollie was and why her story still hits so hard today, we have to start by telling the truth. Because the world Mollie lived in was shaped by decisions, policies, and racism that most of us were never taught in school. And once we pull back the curtain, once we sit in that discomfort for a minute, her courage becomes even more extraordinary. This is the case of the infamous Mollie Burkhart and the Osage murders, aka the Reign of Terror. Are you ready?
Yes.
So this case starts with a party at Mollie Burkhart's lavish home. Mollie was incredibly rich. She wasn't showy. She was reserved, calm, and steady. She was the kind of person who could make chaos feel manageable just by being in the room. And people loved being in her home because it was beautiful. And her presence made things feel safe. But on this night, at this party, things were getting a little out of hand because Anna, Mollie's sister, showed up. And Anna came in hot. She did that a lot of the time. Anna was a heavy drinker, and she was the wild one out of Mollie and her 3 sisters. Anna showed up to the party drunk, loud, emotional, the way she often was when she was spiraling.
Sounds like family Thanksgiving.
And immediately, she started causing a scene. People stared, people whispered, and Mollie did what older sisters have been doing since the beginning of time.
Wedgie time.
No, she tried to smooth it all over.
Oh, boys wouldn't have done that.
No, boys would not. We're talking about older sisters.
Yeah, boys, like, you better stop that before I beat your ass.
Exactly. She tried to pull Anna aside, to calm her down, to soothe her without embarrassing her, but it didn't work. Anna wasn't the type to be contained. If Mollie was the quiet force of the family, the anchor, Anna was the wildfire. She was beautiful, charismatic, unpredictable, and sometimes a little dangerous, especially for a woman in 1921. Rita, the youngest sister, watched the chaos with that sharp, observant look she always had. Rita was practical and skeptical, the one who questioned everything. And Minnie, who had always been the most gentle of the sisters, the softest one, wasn't there at all because Minnie was already dead. She died at the age of 26 from a mysterious illness that no one could explain. So picture the room. Mollie is trying to hold the family together. Anna is a hot mess, being loud and obnoxious. Rita is quietly standing with her back to the wall, analyzing everything. People are whispering, watching, and talking shit about Mollie and her family in her own house. And somewhere in the room, always present, always evaluating things, was Mollie's mother, Lizzie. She was perpetually worried because she had lost one daughter and sensed she might lose another one.
I was just wondering why we're only talking about 2 of the 3 sisters.
Yeah, because Minnie died of a mysterious illness at age 26.
Yeah, that one I guess went over my head.
Yeah.
But I remember everything else.
Good. And in the middle of all this, there's Mollie's husband, Ernest Burkhart, doing his best to try to get Anna out of there before things got worse. Ernest's brother, Brian, was there too, and he agreed to drive Anna home so she could stop embarrassing herself and her family. And this is how I want you to meet this family. Not as names in a history book, but as real people in a room together trying to enjoy the night, while the ground was already shifting underneath of them. Because after that party, Anna disappeared. And within days, she would be found shot in the head.
Oh.
Her body left in a ravine. And Anna's murder didn't come out of nowhere. It was connected to something bigger, something already moving in the shadows around Mollie's family. It forced Mollie to see that her family wasn't just unlucky. They were being targeted. And so were many members of the Osage tribe. But why? Why this tribe? Why now? Anna's murder made one thing very clear. Whatever was happening to this family wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. And to understand why, you have to understand something the outside world could never stop obsessing over. The Osage were rich. Like very, very, very rich.
You said they were Native American?
Yes, the Osage tribe.
Probably had a casino.
No, it's even crazier.
Crazy? What's so crazier than owning a casino?
They weren't rich by chance, not by luck, not because someone handed them anything. They were incredibly wealthy because their leaders made one of the smartest, most forward-thinking decisions any tribe ever made when the federal government forced them off their lands in Kansas in the 1870s. After years of broken promises, broken treaties, and all this pressure from settlers, the Osage were told once again they have to move because at this time they're moving all of these tribes off their land. They're forcing them. The cavalry is literally coming in at gunpoint and saying, "You're out. You gotta go."
That's so crazy. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, just get off, not like, oh, like, I always thought of it more as, like, they had this land, and, like, they were like, all right, well, this land is ours. I thought it was, like, next to them or something. I didn't think of it like that.
So there are times in history where it was like that, but there are also times in history where they were completely forced off. And these people have been here for centuries.
It's theirs.
It's their land.
Well, the world goes by, it's whoever's land who kills the other people. It's crazy.
Kansas was no longer theirs, despite years of promises. This is where they were long before America even became a country.
It wasn't Kansas.
Yeah, it wasn't even Kansas before. They were forced off their land and they were told to go somewhere else. So they looked west and they bought land in what would later become Oklahoma. And they bought this land from the Cherokee Nation, who had owned it at the time. But this is important. They purchased it as a tribe, as a community. They didn't ask for charity. They bought it outright, every single acre. And they chose this land because white farmers didn't want it. It was rocky. It was very hilly. And the white settlers said it was worthless. But the Osage had learned something after decades of being pushed around. Worthless to white settlers usually meant safe for them.
Wow, that's deep.
What no one knew, though, was that this worthless land sat on top of one of the richest oil deposits in the United States.
Oh.
In 1906, when the federal government divided the land into allotments, the Osage Nation did something brilliant. They kept the mineral rights communal. So let me explain. A long time before the Osage became wealthy, the U.S. government created a policy called allotment. So think of it like this. Tribes used to own their land together, like as a community, right? One big neighborhood, everyone shared the land. But the government didn't like that. They wanted Native people to start acting more like white farmers. And they also wanted the land for more settlers to come over. So in 1887, the U.S. government passed something called the Dawes Act, and it completely reshaped Native life across the entire country. The law basically said, we don't want tribes owning land communally anymore. We want Native people to live like white farmers. So we're going to break tribal land into individual parcels, like we have now, right? Mm-hmm. And that might sound fair at first, but here's the trick. After dividing up those squares, the government took everything left over and sold it to white settlers. Native nations lost millions of acres this way.
Wow.
And when Native people got their little piece of land, many of them were cheated out of the land or pressured to sell, and the whole system was basically designed to break tribes apart and take their land without having to actually go to war with them, like they had done for like the last few hundred years. So the Osage were one of the only tribes smart enough to beat the system, because when the government forced the allotment on them, they agreed. They're like, okay, cool, we'll divide the surface land. But they wrote in during this like back and forth, but when they were like negotiating this, they wrote in, but we keep all the mineral rights. So everything under the land belongs to the tribe.
They knew what was in the dirt?
They knew what was there.
Oh.
They knew that oil was underneath the land, and the government didn't.
I wonder, before the settlers came, did the Indians know the value of oil?
No, because at this point, like...
They probably like, shit's gross.
Yeah, like at this point, cars were just being invented. And like that's really when they started using oil a lot more. And heat, you know. So that meant the oil under the ground belonged to every Osage citizen, not whoever owned the surface land. And the Osage found out very quickly after moving to Oklahoma that there was oil under the earth there. So every enrolled member of the Osage Nation received something called a head right, a share of all the future oil profits.
Wow.
Those head rights could not be sold. They can only be passed down. Okay? So they stayed in the tribe. So by the early 1900s, drilling companies started showing up. And then the money started flowing in fast. This decision would make the Osage the richest people per capita in the entire world at the time.
Holy moly.
Isn't that crazy?
Good for them. I doubt it, but I wish that, that just kept trickling down to all the generations of them. That'd be so crazy.
Unfortunately, that is not the way this plays out.
Nah, I figured that.
The numbers weren't subtle. In 1923 alone, the Osage earned more than $30 million in oil royalties.
That's billions back then, probably.
That's over $400 million in today's money.
Oh.
Imagine living in rural Oklahoma in the 1910s and 1920s when most Americans are making a few $100s a year. And you're watching Osage families ride in chauffeured cars, hire cooks, hire housekeepers. They buy the newest fashions from Kansas City, from Paris, because they were bringing in between $10,000 and $20,000 a year.
They're probably hiring the white folks clean their house.
They sure were. They were hiring white folks, black folks. They hired anybody who, could be servants for them. But a lot of white people worked for the Osage.
Wow.
Imagine being a racist white person in that era, looking at Native families, side-eyeing them, with more money than bankers and oil barons.
Probably have more money than the bank.
Imagine the resentment. Imagine the anger. Imagine how obsessed these racist people got with this. And now imagine you're Mollie Burkhart, a calm, steady Osage woman who didn't flaunt her wealth, who didn't chase attention, but who came from a family with multiple head rights, multiple allotments, and a lineage that held real value. This wasn't just money to the outside world. It was leverage. It was opportunity. It was something worth killing for. And that tension was sitting quietly in the room that night when Anna made that scene at Mollie's party. Because everyone at that gathering knew the truth. Mollie and her family were extremely wealthy. And in a place where racism, greed, and lawlessness mixed together, that kind of wealth, it didn't make you secure. It made you a target. So after that night at Mollie's house, the night Anna came in already drunk, loud, and emotional, things didn't magically calm down. That wasn't Anna's style. She was the kind of person who walked into a room and immediately became the main character, whether she meant to or not. And when she left Mollie's house with Brian Burkhart, who is Mollie's husband, Ernest's brother, so Mollie's brother-in-law, everybody clocked it. Not because it was shocking, because Anna had a reputation for getting into cars with men she probably shouldn't.
Okay, Tatiana.
But because something about that moment felt off. She was supposed to go home, but she didn't. She never made it home. And in a community like Grey Horse, you don't just not come home. People notice. People talk. People start checking in. Days went by, and no one had seen Anna. Mollie tried not to panic, but this was the second sister to have something suddenly happen to her, and Mollie's instincts started screaming.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Don't panic.
You're an idiot. A few days after the party, some men found a body in a ravine, face down, barefoot, already decomposing and bloated from the heat. When they turned her over, they saw a bullet hole in the back of her head. The sheriff didn't freak out. The doctors didn't rush. No one acted like this young woman being executed in the middle of Osage County was a big deal. The official response was basically, that's unfortunate.
Wow.
They tried to play it off, claiming at first that she's just some drunk, crazy Indian. She did it to herself. There's a bullet in the back of her head, and they couldn't deny that. But everyone who mattered, Mollie, her family, the Osage community, knew exactly what this was. It was murder. After Anna's body was found, the entire mood around Mollie's family changed. That's when people started quietly saying the thing that no one wanted to admit out loud, that something was targeting this family. Minnie dying mysteriously now felt different. Anna being shot in the head wasn't random. Someone wanted these women gone. So after Anna's murder, it's impossible not to look backward to Mollie's childhood, to the world she came from, because none of this started with Anna. The danger around the Osage people started way before Mollie was even born. Mollie grew up in the Osage community of Grey Horse. Her mother, Lizzie, was a traditional Osage woman, and she held really tight to her culture, even when the federal government was trying to crush it out of existence. Mollie's father, Joe, died when she was young, so her and her sisters were raised by Lizzie alone. She was a single mom, and she was not a soft woman. She lived through removals, broken treaties, and constant pressure to assimilate, because that's what they did to Native Americans back then.
I don't know what assimilate means.
Assimilate means that they force you to get rid of your culture completely, and this is when they would put Native children in boarding schools, when they forced them to convert to Christianity, when they forced them to not use their language, to not dress Native anymore. That's like forced assimilation into the culture, that the white culture.
So eliminate a culture is what that really means.
Yeah. They're forcing you to leave your culture behind and become a white American.
It? That's so stupid.
Well, they will, and I'll explain it. So she lived through removals, broken treaties, and a constant pressure to assimilate. She carried that hardness because she had to, and she refused to let her culture go. Mollie, even as a little girl, had that same quiet strength. She wasn't loud, just steady. A baddie in that understated way where people respect you without you having to say very much. But her childhood was not peaceful. The U.S. had this idea that Native children needed to be civilized, so they created boarding schools.
We spoke about that, I think, in a previous episode.
Yeah, I think we did too. And they created these boarding schools, and they were designed to erase Native identity. Kids were forcefully taken from their families. Okay, it's not like they just went off to school. They came in and forcefully took them.
Wow, man.
They cut their hair, and they forbid them to speak their own native languages. They were punished for practicing anything related to their culture. They were forced to convert to Christianity or Catholicism or Mormonism, whichever type of boarding school they were in.
That's so crazy, because why do you care, like, if they believe in what they believe? Like, what does it have to do with anything?
Because it's racism. They're forcing them to get rid of their entire identity.
Well, we just fuck racist people.
I mean, that's 100%. These schools were brutal emotionally and physically. Mollie and her siblings grew up with this. The message was clear. The U.S. government wanted to break them apart, reshape them, and make them forget who they were and where they came from. But the Osage didn't forget. They adapted, but they made that deal that I told you about earlier.
Yeah, and they probably didn't even know it would be that lucrative.
And that's where the guardianship system came in. So listen to this, okay? So the federal government decided, once the Osage started collecting all this money and they saw that they were getting rich.
They were like, oh, say, can you see?
Yeah, well, they were like, oh, say, can you see? We need to give you guardians, because the Osage adults, who were full-blown adults, they deemed as unable to take care of their money. The U.S. government said, you're an adult person, but we're going to assign you a conservator.
They Britney Speared them.
They did. They Britney Spears them.
Well, Britney is nuts.
But they are not. They called them incompetent, full-grown adults.
See, they had all that money. They should have just paid people to kill the people that are saying that shit.
This is the U.S. government, Russ. This is the government.
They probably got more than the government. Kill them too. It
doesn't work like that. This is our entire government was doing this.
Wow.
So the same government that forced allotment now declared that Native people couldn't be trusted with their own wealth that came from their own land.
They're just stealing the money.
So they were forced into conservatorships. So white men who were local businessmen, lawyers, politicians were appointed as guardians to every single Osage person.
This is getting me mad.
These guardians controlled every single financial decision an Osage person made. So if an Osage person wanted to buy shoes, toilet paper, a car, toothpaste, medicine, literally anything, they had to go to their guardian and ask for permission and ask for the money. Imagine being a wealthy adult, making the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and having to beg someone to spend your own money. These are grown men and women. This was humiliating to them.
It's not your money no more.
And it was dangerous because guardians had access to everything.
Obviously expensive.
Head rights, estate assets, insurance, probate processes. Like, they had access to all of their finances. And it was a system built for exploitation. And for Mollie's family, the danger started to show itself years before Anna's body was found. Her sister Minnie, the quiet one, the gentle one, she was known for causing no drama. She was super chill.
She was a Minnie Mouse.
But Minnie got sick. Not suddenly, not violently, slowly. A wasting kind of illness. And that's what they called it, a wasting illness. But it didn't make sense.
Are you just rotting?
Yes, you're literally just, you're turning into bones. But it didn't make sense because she was only 26, and she was very healthy up until this point. But over a matter of a few months, she deteriorated, and no one could explain it. Doctors just shrugged. White authorities dismissed it. And Minnie died young, leaving everyone feeling like there was more to this. At the time, people told themselves it was just bad luck, an infection or an illness that no one caught in time. But after Anna was murdered, Minnie's death started looking way more suspicious. And Mollie felt it. And she told her husband, Ernest, she was uneasy. She told him she felt like more tragedy was coming, but he just reassured her that this was just a terrible coincidence. Ernest, her husband, wasn't a flashy guy. He wasn't loud. And he definitely wasn't the kind of man that people in Grey Horse whispered about. He was quiet and polite, soft-spoken, kind of shy. And for a woman like Mollie, who'd grown up surrounded by chaos and constant instability from the outside, Ernest felt calm and safe for her. He loved her. At least that's what everyone believed. And Mollie believed it too. They married, they had multiple children, and they built a life together.
Oh, he's going to want her money.
He learned the Osage language, so Mollie was more comfortable at home because Ernest was white.
Oh, I was about to ask, was he Native American?
So he fit into the family the way that most white men never could. If you're going to pick any outsider to trust, Ernest would have seemed like the safest bet. But Ernest didn't exist in a vacuum. He came with family. And in Osage County, the name Burkhart was tied to a very powerful man, a man named William Hale. William Hale was the opposite of Ernest. He wasn't shy or quiet or unassuming. He called himself the king of Osage Hills. He was cocky and arrogant, and people accepted it because he had power everywhere.
He sounds annoying.
The sheriff's office, the banks, the courts, the ranchers. He owned cattle, land, influence, and most importantly, he owned fear. William Hale had built his entire life on relationships with the Osage. He donated money to them, attended their ceremonies. He supported the people publicly. He wore a cowboy hat like it was a crown. He positioned himself as their protector, their friend. He walked among them like he belonged with the Osage people. But underneath that charm was a man who saw the Osage wealth as an opportunity. He watched their head rights. He tracked all the marriages. He paid close attention to who inherited what. And Ernest, mild, gentle Ernest, worked for him because William was his uncle and his surrogate father figure. So when Mollie married Ernest, she didn't just marry a man. She unknowingly tied her family to a machine that was much larger and more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. And while Ernest loved Mollie in his own way, he lived in the shadow of a man who didn't think of the Osage people as people. He saw them as assets.
He did not earnestly love her.
He did not. So after Minnie died, and then Anna, the next person in danger was her youngest sister, Rita. Rita was sharp. She wasn't someone you could fool easily.
Yeah, she was an Italian ice entrepreneur.
Oh, God. She noticed everything. The money, the wills, the guardians. The people who somehow always seemed to benefit whenever another Osage person suddenly passed away. If Mollie was the quiet backbone of the family, Anna was the emotional wildfire, Rita was the one who connected all the dots. And her husband, Bill Smith, he was also a white man, but he was connecting dots too. He wasn't just connected to the family through Rita. Before Rita married him, Bill had been married to her sister, Minnie, the one that died of the wasting illness. So Bill knew this family very well. He knew their patterns. He knew their finances. And he knew that Minnie's death never sat right. Because he lived through Minnie's sudden decline. He was at her side the entire time. And Bill was one of the first people bold enough to say the quiet thing out loud. Because Bill was a white man, and I'm sure, in his own way, he knew he was going to benefit from marrying an Osage woman. But he wasn't down with, murdering anybody. He loved Minnie.
He was just trying to, people like to marry rich.
And
it's a benefit. I wish Jess was rich, but she came into this relationship with bad credit.
I did.
To help her fix her credit. She had no idea. Throughout the years, I was like, hey, your credit's in the 700s. Now she's like, oh, it is?
It's true.
I thought 100, I had the best. It was that's an A+.
I did come into this relationship with bad credit. I did. So, Bill, he married an Osage woman and he knew what he was doing. But he loved Minnie. And Minnie died. And after Minnie died, he decided to court Rita, her sister, and he married her. But he wasn't down with committing crimes or hurting these women. He was part of their family. And he said the thing that no one else was bold enough to say out loud. He said that something was happening to these women, that these deaths didn't feel random.
They weren't. You could tell.
Rita trusted him, not because he was comforting, but because he wasn't afraid to name what everyone else was too afraid to say. Bill started digging into guardianship records, head rights, probate documents, wills, and leases. And the more he learned, the darker things looked. And of course, once Bill started asking all the right questions, it put Rita and Bill in a lot of danger. As soon as Rita and Bill Smith started asking questions, things in Grey Horse shifted. Too many Osage were dying under mysterious circumstances. Doctors brushed everything off. Local law enforcement never investigated it. And people noticed that certain white guardians seemed to profit every single time. So on March 10th, 1923, at 3 a.m., there was a huge explosion underneath the home of Rita and Bill. A bomb was placed under their home and it was detonated in the middle of the night.
Oh, shit.
The blast was massive and it killed Rita, Bill, and their servant Nettie.
They had bombs in 1920 for civilians?
They did. They had bombs and it turned their house into a pile of rubble. They were dead immediately. For Mollie, the message was unmistakable. Minnie was dead. Anna was murdered. Rita and Bill were gone. And now her mother, Lizzie, had just died a few months earlier from the same wasting illness. The doctors claim took her sister Minnie.
So whoever those two are around is obviously poisoning them.
Well, the thing is that they're around a lot of people. I mean, they're big parts of the community. And this is now Mollie's entire family in a matter of a couple years are all dead.
And now it looks like Mollie's next.
So the Osage Nation reached the same conclusion. They no longer trusted local law enforcement. Too many connections and too little actions. They knew there was just way too much corruption. So the Osage Tribal Council appealed directly to the federal government. They were like, bro, tons of people are dying in our tribe from all these weird circumstances. Dying. And this is just one family we're talking about, but there are multiple families going through this. Okay.
I thought it was funny when you was like, they went to the government and was like, bro.
Well, it's true.
Imagine
you're thinking they actually said bro.
They didn't have those words.
No, they didn't. But really, though, like, this is one family we're talking about, but now this is multiple families in this area. All of these deaths happening back to back to back, and the same guardians are benefiting from it.
So it's obvious.
Well, it's obvious, but,
Do they care?
Exactly. Because the murders were happening on Osage reservation land, the federal government had jurisdiction because this is reservation land, okay? This pushed the U.S. Bureau of Investigation, which is the BOI, and that would later become the FBI, to step in and take the case. The FBI sent Agent Tom White to take over the case. And
that's not good for them. They sent another White.
Oh, no, but Tom White was not your stereotypical Fed people picture today. He wasn't sitting behind a desk in a suit. He wasn't polished. He was an old school law enforcement guy. He was a former Texas Ranger. And he carried himself like someone who'd seen enough violence to know how danger works. I actually really like Agent Tom White. He was steady, methodical, and impossible to intimidate. He wasn't flashy, but he wasn't corruptible either, which already made him different than all the other law enforcement in Osage County at the time.
There's a price on everything except with this guy, I guess.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He believed in actual evidence, not rumors. And unlike the local sheriff or the doctors who kept shrugging off these obvious murders, Tom White took the Osage seriously from the moment he arrived. He was their ally. He built a team of undercover agents, and they posed as cattlemen, oil workers, and even insurance salesmen. And quietly, they started blending into the community while they investigated. As the murders around her family escalated, Mollie herself started to become dangerously ill. She had type 1 diabetes, which is the type of diabetes that you're born with. There's type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is the one you're born with. Type 2 is the one that you get later as an adult.
I didn't even know they could test for diabetes in the 20s.
Yeah, so they knew she had diabetes. And in the 1920s, though, diabetes was extremely life-threatening, even with treatment.
They had insulin?
Yeah, they had insulin.
Huh.
Mollie relied on the local doctors, the Schoen brothers, who were well known in Osage County, to manage her diabetes with insulin. What she didn't know was that these same doctors were deeply connected to William Hale. They were friends of his. They were his allies and his instruments. Nothing screamed poisoning at first. There was no violent reaction, no dramatic collapse, just a slow, steady decline. Fatigue, weight loss, symptoms that could easily be blamed on her diabetes. So it was a perfect cover. And Ernest, the man she loved and trusted the most, was the one giving her the insulin injections at home. He wasn't the mastermind, but he followed instructions. And William Hale's instructions were very clear. Mollie was the next to go. Because you have to understand, now that all of these people around Mollie have died, she has inherited all of their head rights.
Now she's rich.
She's already rich, but now she has everybody's head rights in her family.
That's why I said rich twice.
Despite her quiet nature, Mollie was not naive. She began to sense that something was deeply wrong, not just with the world around her, but with her own body. So she confided her fear to the only person she felt safe trusting, her priest. She sent her priest a secret message, telling him she believed she was being poisoned and that she believed it was her husband that was doing it.
Wow,
at the time,
she thought it too.
You can't just go to the law enforcement. You can't just go to people around you. She has no one to trust at this point. She doesn't know who to trust, who to rely on. Imagine living like that. You've lost your entire family in a matter of a year or two. Everyone's dropping dead around you. You have 4 children that you have to take care of and worry about. Now you suspect your husband that you love is poisoning you. And who do you go to? So she sent her priest a secret message. And even while she was sick, Even while she was surrounded by people she now feared, Mollie was fighting to stay alive to protect her children. Agent White and the FBI stepped in fast. So the priest goes to Agent White and gives him this secret message and says, like, you got to step in and help Mollie. So he removes her from her home and he puts her into federal protective custody.
Wow.
Yeah. He takes her away from the Schoen brothers and her own husband. And something happened. Mollie started getting better. After a couple weeks, she wasn't sick anymore. Her recovery outside of William Hale's orbit became the biggest red flag for the FBI.
I wonder if he was thinking that, like, oh shit, they're going to find out now.
Well, as the FBI tightened its investigation around William, Ernest began to crack. He was questioned repeatedly. He was confronted with evidence, and he was isolated from William Hale for the first time in his entire adult life. And the truth is, Ernest wasn't built to withstand pressure. And the FBI knew it. He wasn't one of Hale's hardened henchmen. He was a quiet man who'd done terrible things, and they knew it was only a matter of time before they could get him to crack. So eventually, Ernest broke. He confessed. He admitted to helping plan Anna's murder. He admitted to participating in the bombing that killed Rita and Bill. And he admitted that William Hale had directed the poisoning attempts on his own wife, Mollie. His confession didn't just expose the conspiracy, it saved Mollie's life. And then something no one saw coming happened. Ernest agreed to testify against his uncle, William Hale. So in court, he sat there pale, shaking, barely able to look up, and he told the jury that his uncle, the man everyone in Osage County called the King of the Osage Hills, was
King
the
of
master,
the clowns.
right? Was the mastermind behind multiple murders. His testimony was devastating. It took the power Hale built over decades and cracked it wide open. For years, William Hale was pretending that he was an ally to the Osage Nation. He attended their ceremonies. He helped them with business ventures, celebrated holidays with them. But all along, he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, playing the long con, systematically wiping them out one by one. Hale sat there stone-faced in the courtroom while Ernest described how easily Osage lives were just erased for money. And the courtroom was filled with multiple Osage families who had lost relatives. And they had suspected this, but no one was listening to them before. And now they finally hear the truth spoken out loud.
It's interesting that their money didn't buy them power.
No. It's really fucked up. The trials were chaotic. Hale used every connection that he had: judges, lawyers, politicians, law enforcement, to stall, intimidate, and manipulate. But the FBI had built a solid case at this point. There were too many witnesses, too many documents, and too much evidence of forged wills, fake guardianship filings, and coordinated murders. So the jury found William Hale and Ernest Burkhart guilty of murder. The newspapers everywhere, all over the country, reported on this story. And the press dubbed this time in history the Reign of Terror. Because the FBI discovered it wasn't just Mollie's family that white men were wiping out. There were hundreds of Osage murdered in the last few years for their head rights. It wasn't perfect justice. Nothing about this case ever was, but it was the first time that someone powerful in Osage County was held accountable for killing the Osage people. And that guilty verdict mattered. It signaled to the Osage Nation that someone was finally listening to them. But the emotional fallout was brutal. Mollie sat through parts of the trial, hearing in public what her husband had done in private, how he had followed Hale's instructions, how he had participated in the killing of all of her sisters and her mother. how he had been poisoning her. It was a betrayal that was so incredibly deep.
Ernie is a bitch.
Total bitch. After Ernest confessed, Mollie was done. She filed for divorce immediately and cut ties with him completely. And considering the era, a Native woman divorcing her white husband in the middle of a national scandal, that alone was an act of courage. She focused on her children. She focused on surviving. And once she was out of Hale's reach and away from the Schoen doctors, her health improved dramatically. It was one more confirmation that she had been poisoned for a very long time.
And now she's definitely sure her sister was. And like, that's crazy and sad.
So sad. Mollie lived out her remaining years quietly. She remarried an Osage man a few years later. She was done with these white dudes. She was like, I don't need another white dude in my life.
Yeah, once you go white, you know it ain't right.
So she remarried another Osage
Coming
man.
from a white man, folks.
She remarried another Osage man a few years later and continued raising her children.
And that means he probably had money too.
Mollie continued carrying herself with the same calm, dignified strength that she always had. But the trauma never fully left. The reign of terror had taken her sisters, her mother, her marriage, and the sense of safety that she had. Mollie died in 1937 at just 50 years old.
Damn.
From complications of diabetes. The same condition that William Hale tried to use as a cover to kill her. But she endured more loss than most people can deal with. She did survive, and she rose above it, and she kept pushing until the end. Now, if you stop this story at the guilty verdict, it almost feels like justice finally caught up with these men. But the truth is way harder to swallow. Both William Hale and Ernest Burkhart were eventually paroled.
Of course.
And the reason why is infuriatingly simple. The American justice system has never taken crimes against Native people seriously. Not then, not now, not ever. Ernest was sentenced to life in prison for his role in Anna's murder and bombing that killed Rita and Bill. Life should have meant life.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering he betrayed his wife and helped destroy her entire family. But Ernest cooperated with the FBI. And in the eyes of the system, that made him able to be rehabilitated. He confessed. He testified against Hale. He showed remorse, or at least performed it. And because he was seen as the weaker one, the follower, the guy who was quiet and manipulated by Hale, the parole board decided he wasn't a true monster, no. Ernest served only a portion of his sentence. He was paroled, and then later fully pardoned by the governor of Oklahoma.
Ernie is a sucker.
A full pardon for a man who admitted to murder, for a man who helped poison his own wife and kill her entire family.
Blowing up a house, too. That's bold. That's not even like these ones in silence.
Yes, I mean, it's crazy. William Hale should have never walked out of prison a free man. He orchestrated multiple murders. He financed them. He chose the victims. He manipulated the guardianship system. He lied under oath. He showed zero remorse. Even in prison, he acted like the rules didn't apply to him. But Hale was powerful and connected, and even behind bars, he knew how to work the system. Over time, with shifting political climates and the slow fading of national attention, William Hale's case softened in the eyes of the parole board. They saw him as an old man, non-threatening. And eventually, unbelievably, he was paroled too, after serving only a fraction of his sentence. Neither of these men were paroled because they deserved it. They weren't paroled because they were safe. They weren't paroled because they were rehabilitated. They were paroled because the lives they destroyed, Osage lives, didn't carry the same weight in our justice system as white victims would have. The Reign of Terror was treated like a scandal, not like a systematic murder of multiple people. Indian murders, as the newspaper called them, were never a priority. Once the headlines died down and the FBI got the credit it wanted, the urgency to keep these two men behind bars died down too. And that's the part of the story that we have seen play out many times through American history. You can kill Native people, profit from it, confess to it, and still somehow the system will find a way to let you out. According to the FBI, at least 24 Osage men and women were officially confirmed by law enforcement to have been murdered during the Reign of Terror, but the real number is believed to be far higher, into the multiple hundreds, because prior to the FBI getting involved, there were dozens of victims whose deaths were just dismissed or ignored by the law enforcement. This went on for years before the FBI got involved. So when I think about everything Mollie endured, it's impossible not to feel something deep for her. This woman watched her entire family disappear one by one. Her sisters, her mother, her home, her trust, her love. And somehow she just kept going. She didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She didn't crumble. She just held on. She protected her children. She reached out for help secretly, slipping a note to that priest, even when it terrified her. She stayed standing when absolutely everything around her was falling apart. And that's why I call her a quiet warrior. There was nothing theatrical about her strength. It lived in the way that she moved through grief, the way she listened to her instincts, like we talked about on the last episode. She knew in her gut something was wrong. She listened to her intuition. And she refused to be erased. Some people fight with volume, but Mollie fought with endurance. And sometimes I feel like that kind of strength is harder. To just endure.
I get it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Her story forces us to look at who we are as a country. Not the cartoon version we learned as kids. Not the one with the smiling pilgrims and happy Indian families gathered around this perfect meal. The real one. The one where indigenous people lost land, children, culture, language, and lives. All while just being written out of the story. It's pretty wild. And once you know the truth, it changes how you see things, like Columbus Day or Thanksgiving. Native people aren't protesting these holidays because they want to be woke or difficult. They're carrying generations of trauma that those holidays tend to gloss over. They're carrying the weight of horrendous histories that were never acknowledged in schools or textbooks or at dinner tables. But recognizing that pain doesn't ruin Thanksgiving. It doesn't take away anyone's joy or memories. It just makes the story honest. We can love the warmth of our traditions, the food, the family, the time together, and still hold space for people who have been hurt the most by the myths surrounding them. Those two truths can sit side by side without canceling each other out. Because being American isn't about pretending our history is clean, because it sure as hell isn't.
You know, I bet there's no land that anyone lives on in the world that wasn't taken from someone.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
That's one of the reasons I absolutely love history, because history is history. It is what it is. It was what it was. Like, if you're really learning history, you're learning the good, the bad, the ugly, because some of history is really ugly. And I'm somebody who's always seeking to know the truth about everything. So that's why I appreciate history so much, and I appreciate learning it so much, because I like the truth.
I like some history stuff. There's a lot of good documentaries and stuff, but then there's a lot of boring ones.
Yeah. It's about being brave enough to look at it, name it, and grow from it. It's understanding that the first Americans weren't the settlers. They were the ones who were already here, and everyone else came later. You know, me and you got really interested in your lineage because you're part Native.
Scandinavian.
You're part Native.
Oh, yeah, I'm part...
You're a Mi'kmaq. Mi'kmaq. I don't know how it's pronounced, but
Mi'kmaq, you don't stop.
but
Rock on.
Russ and I went really hard into a genealogy because for our wedding, my grandmother gave us this amazing book that has all of our genealogy in it. She spent months and months on this project. It was like the best present ever. And
didn't I end up in being some part Native American because like they were kidnapped and became part of the Indian tribe eventually?
Yeah, so the one part of Russ's lineage, the LaPlante part.
LaPlante is French.
Yes, he was French-Canadian.
Oh.
And he ended up being captured by natives, but then he became part of their tribe. And he's like a great grandfather. I don't know how far back he is from you. But and he ended up being part of their tribe, and he ended up marrying a Mi'kmaq woman.
Crazy.
And then, later down the line, your, I think, third great grandmother.
There's stories about her.
That you know?
Being at Nanny's house.
Oh, yeah. So
she would always hang up her big underwear on the clothesline. That's what they told me about her.
Well, she's your mother's grandmother, right? Or great grandmother?
I don't know.
I think she's your third great grandmother, and she was Native, and your family remembers her, and she was part of your family. She was part of Nanny's life. So, we got really interested in your lineage, being Mi'kmaq, and having that in your lineage. And
they didn't get no mineral land rights.
No, they didn't. They weren't as rich as the Osage. So the Osage story is really interesting because I don't know if you've heard of the book Killers of the Flower Moon.
I actually listened to that.
You did?
Yeah, on I believe it was on my Audible.
Well, Russell, that's the story. So
well, my memory is shit.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I listened to that. That was my source for this case, was Killers of the Flower Moon. I listened to it this week.
Maybe I didn't finish it. A lot of times I start stuff and didn't finish it, but I could watch the same movie a few months later and it'd be brand new.
Well, a year or two ago, Martin Scorsese made the movie Killers of the Flower Moon.
So maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, so Martin Scorsese made this movie. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm interested to watch the movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is in it. There's a lot of like famous actors in it.
I'm down.
And I'm really interested to, now that I know the story and I've read the book and now told you the story, I'd be interested for us to watch the movie.
See, I don't know because now I'm going to have to hear, oh, the book was better. I don't like watching movies with people that have read the book.
I always say the book is better. Because it is. It always is
So
better.
then why read the book if it's going to ruin the movie? Because you're going to watch the movie.
I don't know. But
or watch the movie first and then you're like, oh, man, this book is so great.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'm interested to watch the movie and see how they portray Mollie, because in the movie and in the book, Mollie is, a main character. She is, the story kind of revolves around her and her family. But this case just really struck me because it's Thanksgiving, because, I was pulling out that like Wednesday Addams energy a little bit.
We got to Osage this house.
But I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to ruin your holiday. But I just want everyone to stop for a second and think, about our history as Americans and the kind of stuff that we tell kids nowadays. We don't have kids, so I don't know.
They're too sticky.
I don't know what they tell kids
they make
in
noise.
school. Do they still tell them this fake story about Thanksgiving?
When I was a kid, they told me to shut up.
Yeah. But I mean, is this story still the thing that they tell? I don't know. I don't know if they do or not.
It's kind of the true story, except they left out every single bad part of it.
Yeah, exactly. There was a meal that happened between Pilgrims and Indians.
Yeah.
But then there was like a whole lot of other terrible shit.
Yeah, like
for centuries.
They just left everything out.
Yeah. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Clutch Defense opens on December 1st.
That's pretty cool.
We're doing our Baddie series right now. So Mollie was our first baddie. And I'm relating all of the products to the story. So we have the Shield, which is our drink cover, which is to keep you from being roofied when you're out and about. And that's one of our products that we're offering in Clutch Defense.
You know what's crazy?
What?
I guess I don't need a drink cover. I'm not roofieable.
Why not?
I don't know. No one wants me.
I mean, you're insulted that you've never been roofied?
What am I, not attractive enough to be roofied?
No, Russ. Typically, it's men roofing women. Like, let's get real.
I know. They're pieces of shit.
They're all pieces of shit. You and I worked in the bar business a really long time. And women, listen, I will say, you all got to get your drinks under control.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be leaving your drinks around and just leave it unattended. We can't do that nowadays anymore, unfortunately, ladies. It's just, you can't. Okay? So the solution is keep your drink on lock with Clutch Defense drink cover. But there are men that are rude.
Maybe because I'd be harder to carry away. I'm heavy.
Yeah, maybe nowadays.
They're like, that's a lot of work. Whatever. He comes with his own hand truck. We can get him out of here.
All right, everybody. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime the Crime Family and Patreon at Wife of Crime Pod.
And Jess didn't catch any of my song references.
I caught a few of them.
But we will catch you guys next time.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Peace.